Welcome to the channel where you will find love, laughs, and DIYs. My name is Crafty Kathy, and I'm so happy and thankful that you stopped in to spend some time and craft with me today. This week, I have been working on some super easy DIY crafts and hacks and just some very simple spring decor that I'm going to be selling at some craft shows. And so I hope that I give you some inspiration for your home or if you want to sell at the craft shows. So let's go. The first DIY is caught in the carrot patch again. Now this one will be really easy to recreate. I got this farmhouse sign. I know it's flipped around backwards, but it's because the angle of my camera, you're not seeing things. But I got this farmhouse picture from the Dollar General store on clearance for like $1. And then that little silver bunny is one of the ones that comes off something at the Dollar Tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color this outer frame black. I really like that, and I want to accentuate that difference in the black and white, and then there's some beads there in the middle. So I just took my time. I wasn't necessarily careful because you don't have to be too much right here. And I used that color called Ink by Waverly, and I just went all the way around the outside and then that inner rim there that you see on the inside part of the beads. I pulled the little burlap bow off my bunny rabbit, and I'm also going to paint him that color called Ink. And somewhere along the line, I painted the inside part of my picture with white chalk paint. Now, I didn't show myself painting it, but remember it said farmhouse and stuff on it. And I just gave it 2 coats of the color called Vintage Linen, which is a DIY paint. I took a little pom-pom that I buy in a pack at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to pop that on his little tail. Then I got my Waverly Antique Wax, and I like the color that these beads are all the way around it, but I wanted to darken them up a little bit because I thought it looked better with that black and white. So I didn't have to be very careful because if you get that antique wax on the black part, it comes right back off. And if it doesn't look good, all you got to do is just do another quick little coat of that black. But it was perfectly fine. It was very easy. And you can see here, I'm not particularly being careful in any way. And I didn't wipe any of the excess off. I wanted to keep it that darker brown color on purpose. I grabbed some of my Star Bond glue and then that accelerator. I sprayed a little bit of the accelerator on the white part of the picture, and then I put the actual glue, just a couple little dots. It didn't take much. Just put a little bit there on the back of my bunny, and I'm going to stick him right down on that picture. And y'all remember that big old bag of the little bows that I got at Christmas time, the black and white and the red and white. I'm wearing out these black and white ones because they're so easy. All you do is pop them on. So I stuck that on my bunny's neck. And then I'm also going to stick a little bit of Spanish moss down across the bottom with some glue. And by the way, if you want some of those little... I got this fence at Hobby Lobby a couple years ago, and I have really used it a lot. This is the last bit of it that I have. It came in probably about 1.5 feet, I guess, of this little fence. It was really cheap, and it's kind of made almost out of like popsicle stick material. It's just very small, but it's a good deal. If you find it, pick up some because it's good to use this time of year especially. But what I did was I just put glue on the last 2 little bits of the fence there, and I glued it to my picture, and I made it come out like 3D. Then I took 2 of those little carrots from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to paint those with my Arteza pens. Then the last thing I did is glued those little carrots down. This was super easy, and I think it turned out beautiful. Let me know what you think about this one.
Makes me feel this way, don't know what you do. Hold my hand, could you hold my hand, look me in the eyes.
The next one is a little bunny driver wreath. We're going to make a wreath out of the little trees that came out this year for Easter at the Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two of them and I'm going to butt them up together. You want the back side to be flat, and you're just going to butt them up together. And I like to use tie wraps to hold them down really well. I think I used 2 or 3 tie wraps. Now, I used a total of 3 trees, but you really don't have to. You could get away with using 2 trees because the tree is not even the main part of the wreath. It's almost like just a filler, like a background. You know, it's not even the main thing. So the last tree, I just kind of laid it down where it would be a little bit on both sides, if that makes sense, where it would be on the left and the right side there a little bit. I spread it out real big, and I used my tie wraps to strap it down too. Then I just go ahead and cut off all that excess from my tie wraps so I can make sure that I don't forget to do that later. Now the next thing I did here is I cut out 10 pieces of this ribbon, and you can use whatever ribbon you choose. I cut my ribbon at 10 inches long because I dovetail all the ends. And once you dovetail the ends, you usually only have about 9 inches, 8.5 inches left of it. And so that's why I go 10 inches with mine. So I go through and just dovetail all my ends off here. I went ahead and cut some other bows, and I'm going to show you what I did. Of course, this is the bow that I already showed you, the ones with the little truck on them, that I cut at 10 inches. And then I also cut these little sheer kind of see-through ones from the Dollar Tree. I cut those 10 inches also. Now, I didn't even measure these, but if I had to guess, I would say they're about 10 inches. It's just a little cute little ruffle bow, and I got this at Hobby Lobby. It's when they were doing their 50% off of the bows every other week, and I only paid $2 for a big long roll of it, and I think it's a gorgeous spring color. This is just a little pink and white gingham bow that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I also cut it at, actually I cut it at 8 inches. All of them are cut at 10 inches except for the little pink one, and it's cut at 8. What I'm going to do is just take just anywhere where I feel the need to, and I'm just going to take this ruffly one and just tie it around my little trees here. There's no need to worry about it coming undone or anything like that because that ruffle helps it hold its shape and hold itself together. And I just go up every few inches and put another one, just anywhere where I feel the need to at this point, to be honest. I think I put 5 little ruffles on each side, 5 on the left and 5 on the right. I started off with just 4, and then I thought, you know, I can add one more in there somewhere. And so I did, and I had 5 on the left and 5 on the right. And when I finished with all those ribbons, look how pretty and how much fuller this looks. Now, that blue color that the trees are is almost see-through. It's so light, but this brings a really pretty springy color to it. Now, I'm going to slow this part down so it's a little bit more easy to understand. I'm going to use one of the bows that's got the little truck on it, one of the little sheer pink ones, and then this little skinny gingham one. All I'm going to do is lay them on top of each other, you see. I forgot to cut my little bow here. I didn't do it in dovetail. I just kind of cut it at an angle. All I do is just pinch it in the middle. I don't do anything else except for pinch it in the middle, and it's almost like a makeshift bow. And then I use the branches of the tree itself and just twist it around the center part of the little bow, and that's going to hold it together. And here again, I'm doing the exact same thing. I put the 3 together, I pinch them in the middle, and then I'm just going to lay it down and just use the branches to wrap around and hold it there. I did 4 of these on each side, so I did a total of 8 little packets, I guess you could call it, of the little bows. And you just put them wherever you think that they look good. But just remember, whatever you do on the left, you're going to do it in the exact same spot on the right. So you'll see I put my bow kind of toward the end. So I did it on the opposite side in the exact same spot. But yeah, I just kind of evened them out where I thought they looked good. And I would put them down there. And I always just use the little trees itself to wrap it around, and it holds it perfectly fine because these are so full when you're finished that nothing really moves out of these little wreaths. I showed on the left side how I did my little bow packets, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the right side, and I'll be right back. This flower was the closest thing that I could come to that minty color. So I'm going to show you how I fix that in just one moment, but I'm going to do pink and this color of flower. What I did was I chose to get the color agave. It's a Waverly color, and it matches the little truck that's on that bow. It matches it perfectly. So what I did was I took one of these little DIY kits. I buy these at the Dollar General store. This one was $2. It's the little truck with the eggs in the back, and it comes with a little stand where you can stand it up. So I just went through and painted my little truck the agave color. And here's how I remedied the problem with the flowers not matching up. I took that color agave and I literally just painted right over the color that was on them. And then I used a baby wipe to kind of wipe off any of the excess. And also I used that baby wipe to kind of rub it in. And that way the flowers turned out the color that I wanted them to. And in some of them, I just kind of barely like dry brushed over them so that they would have that greenish color, but also the agave. In order to tone it down and kind of make it look a little bit more realistic, I used my DIY white wax and my fingers, and I just rubbed a little bit of that wax on the petals, and then I used a baby wipe to kind of wipe it off. And that little bit of moisture was just enough to move the color around, and it just made it look right. And I also put the DIY white wax on my truck because I'm not a fan of the agave color myself, but when you tone it down a little bit with that white wax, I really do like that color because it's kind of calmer and it's not so in your face. I took some really skinny popsicle sticks and I'm just going over them with the antique wax and wiping off the excess with the baby wipe. And I painted my little egg in the middle, kind of like a bright purple, and the two on the side, a really light pink color. And here I'm just using a Sharpie to do the wheels on the truck. I probably have a strange way of doing with my little Sharpie there on the wheels, but I have to just kind of slowly go around in a circular pattern to where I think the wheel would be. And it's just my way of trying to figure out how to make it look right. And then I also went all the way around my little truck with my black Sharpie and just outlined the whole thing. I used my hot glue gun to put the little popsicle sticks on the back of the truck to make it look like it was rails. And I was having trouble with my glue gun, so just bear with me here. I was having one of those crafting days that like no matter what I did, something would happen or I was doing something wrong. Now, so I took this little, this is a little picture from off the back of one of those calendars, and it's a 2022 farmhouse calendar, and it had a little truck on it with flowers, and I just used a glue stick to put it down to the side of my truck because I felt that it needed something. And then I made two more of the little small popsicle sticks, and I'm going to put them on the side because instead of framing the whole thing, I just thought that this looked better to just put it on the sides. And it looked like what a real truck looks like to me that we see in the South here. Now it's time to put the little truck on our wreath. And what I did was I just flipped my truck over. I put a lot of hot glue down, and then I laid down one of those little tie wraps, and then I'm going to use a couple of small pieces of a popsicle stick, and that glue is going to help it to hold and it's going to be able to hold that little tie wrap there in place to where all I have to do is flip my little wreath over and just tie wrap it right on there, and it's perfect. You don't want to make it too tight because you'll lose your little truck and you want it to kind of pop out. So that's all I did, and then I fluffed everything up really well, and I still felt like it was lacking something at this point. So what I did was I cut off 10-inch pieces of tulle, and okay, I have to say it the funny way, toile. Okay, y'all always make fun of me and mess with me for the way I say it, but that word is so aggravating to me. But anywho, we're not here to talk about that. So I cut this into 10-inch pieces, and see, I just walk it down with my fingers. That's all I'm doing, and pinching it in the middle, and then I just kind of randomly put it all over this wreath. Not just behind the truck, which I did go heavy behind the truck. I probably put about 4 pieces behind the truck. But I also went throughout the wreath and added a couple pieces, maybe 2 on each side. So I added 2 more to the left and 2 more to the right. Now I have these little Easter bally eggy things. I'm not sure what they are. They're in the floral section, and I'm going to stick those in behind the truck here. So what I did is just cut them off, and right here I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to put them, or where, how they're going to look right. I first just had them right there behind the little truck, and it just didn't settle right with me. I didn't feel like that was the right placement for it. So where I actually ended up putting them was on the sides of the wreath. I put 2 little bunches of them on the left-hand side and 2 little bunches on the right-hand side. And there was actually a total of 5 little stems on that. So after I put 2 on each side, I had 1 more little stem left over, and I did stick that one in behind the truck just for a little, added effect. I took this little bunny rabbit head on a skewer, and I cut the very tip of the skewer there where just the head and just a little bit of the skewer is left, and I'm going to glue him there to the very back of the truck, like it's going to look like he's driving the truck. So what I did was put down my glue, flip it over, and then I'm just going to put down a piece of fabric over the top of that, and that way that fabric is going to help it to grab onto the glue and hold there. Then the very last thing I did is take some of these little sparkly, I guess it's like a little sparkly, like glittery grass, and I put it kind of, cock-sided, I guess you could call it, there at the top of the bunny to where it's kind of coming out from behind the little truck. And I hope you like this one.
I'm walking down the street on clouds instead of the concrete I'm dancing through. Everything's about to come my way. Nothing can ruin my day, no matter what anyone does or say. I smile at fools. No, I don't care, 'cause I am on my way up, and I won't stop, I won't slow down. Steady on my feet, I'm gonna rise up. No, I won't stop, it is my time. 'Cause I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like when nothing goes your way. So I'm gonna let myself enjoy.
This is going to be 2 simple shelf sitters. And I used some wood that I actually had this wood just left over in some of my scrap wood, but they do sell this exact same size wood at the Dollar Tree where they sell the little wood pieces in the craft section. I had already painted these orange from a previous DIY. I use these all the time, and I love to have a couple little shelf sitters just sitting out for each little holiday and stuff. And so I took my Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm going to give it a couple coats and just coat both of these little shelf sitters really well. I had a little piece of rice paper that I was going to use for a previous DIY, and I didn't use it. So I had already used that water technique where I go around it with the end of my paintbrush wet, and then I just tear it, because you never use scissors or have any kind of straight lines or anything like that when you want to decoupage. Now, since this is rice paper, I just used my liquid patina, and it was so super easy just to get it to stick to the front of my little shelf sitter. And you can see this is Peter Rabbit, which is one of my very most favorite little cartoons from Easter when I was a kid. I just took some of that chick ribbon that you get from the Dollar Tree. They have it out right now. And I'm just going to place that along the top and the bottom. And I'm not really sure why, but I placed a little bunny rabbit on the top. It's just a little bunny that I got in a pack at Hobby Lobby a few weeks ago. And then I'm going to use this little burlap bow. The burlap bow came off of that little silvery bunny that we used earlier. And I put my little button in the middle. And this is just a little column that I got at the thrift store. There was a pack of 4 of them for like 50 cents. And I thought that they would be perfect to use where I could just set something up or whatever I wanted to do with it. And so I glued this sweet little shelf sitter right on the top of that. And that way one of them will be raised higher than the other. And that's all there was to this one. Now we're going to start on the other one. For the other one, I'm going to rob this little stand-up bunny that I got from the Dollar Tree. I cut his ears off and I cut his little feet off, and we are going to use this to make a little makeshift shelf sitter that's a bunny rabbit. I just simply glued those ears down to the very top of my little block. And I just used my little Sharpie to make 2 small little bunny eyes here in the center. And I laid the 2 little felt feet down the way I wanted them, put some glue on them, and I set that right on the top so that it would be stuck right on there the way I wanted it. And I'm just going to use a few strands of jute twine. I think there's 3 strands, and I just used the 3 strands and glued it in the middle. That way that it would be little whiskers. I'm going to use this little upside down heart. It came in a pack of different little heart stickers and stuff from the Dollar Tree, and that's going to be his little nose. And I want to make a very simple mouth on him. Well, first I made little eyebrows, and for the mouth I just made like a straight little line and a little circle to make it look like he had like a what kind of expression. And I'm going to show you the easiest way in the world to make a bow, or it is to me. I just make 2 little circles or little loops with my bow, and I tie those just like you would shoes or anything else that you tie. And that is the most simplest little bow that you can make. You just use your fingers to make the little loops, and it's very simple. And then you just kind of pull it to the length that you want it. And I decided to make this a little girl bunny, and this is going to go right in the center of the little ears, and it's going to be her little hair bow. I just cut the sides off. I didn't dovetail them. I just cut it at an angle, and then I'm going to use a little pink button that's going to go right in the center because she's got to have a little button. Then the very last step, I used a white permanent marker to make 2 little dots at the bottom of her black eyes, and there they are. I hope you like these simple little shelf sitters. The very last one is a spring ducky, and it's more of a hack than it is a DIY or a craft. I got this little duck. I actually got it at a yard sale about a year ago, and I haven't done anything with him. He's a perfect little spring duck. Look how cute he is. But I don't like how bright he is. I love the colors that's on him. I love the little yellow coat, and I love his little bow and his little umbrella, but I wanted to tone it down. So if you have something like this and you just kind of want to tone it down, it might be too bright or vivid for you, all you have to do is take some DIY white wax, and then I just rubbed it all over, or I used my brush and brushed it all over this little duck, and I just took a napkin and kind of wiped it off. Now, you have to leave it alone for probably about 15 minutes for the wax to kind of it starts setting up. I think it takes about 24 hours before it's fully like cured. So I just don't touch it too much. But in about 15 minutes, it was very easy to move around. And that's all I did on this guy. And like I said, it's just a little hack. There's so many simple things that you can do with your old decor that you already have. Pull it back out and use it. Just change it up a little bit if you're not happy with the way it is. And I hope you like this little duck. I think he's sweet, and now I can use him in my home. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love to ask you to hit that little red button and subscribe and become a part of our family. And please give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I wanted to take just a moment to brag on one of my sweet subscribers that sent me a set of coasters that she made for me. Look how cute these are. 2 of them are chickens. One's a little cow. One is Jesus. And look at this. That's my sweet baby Sabby. Oh, I cried whenever I saw that because I wasn't expecting it. And then the other one is my new baby Roxy. But the one of Jesus was on the top, and I was just really busy, so I wasn't able just to get right into them right off the bat. But when I flipped it over and saw the picture of Sabby, I was like, oh my gosh. And I just love you guys so much. And Miss Penny, I thank you so much for sending me these. You don't know what that did. I will use these for the rest of my life. And that's a perfect conversation piece for anybody that comes over to my house. I can tell them how one of my subscribers made that for me. And I always love anything and cherish anything that any of you guys send me. I have every card that has ever been sent to me, every gift, anything that has ever been sent to me. I still have it. And guys, I'll never get rid of it. I love y'all, and I will see you back on Thursday. I love you. Have a blessed